I would recommend doing for just about every picture you take is really quite simple. First thing, go ahead and change your mode dial to the program mode. That's the P on the mode dial right there. With that set, go ahead and press the function button right here and go down 1 to access the white balance function. I highly recommend appropriately setting the white balance, which means if you're shooting in daylight, go ahead and set this to daylight. If it's a cloudy day, set it to cloudy. If you're indoors, most often you're using tungsten lights, so you can set this to tungsten. I'm going to go ahead and set this to daylight. Go all the way down to the resolution. By default, the resolution is actually set up properly. You just want to make sure that this is set to the large resolution, which is the highest resolution the camera can produce. This way, you can crop the picture later on in the computer and still have enough resolution to print a decent image. Go ahead and press the display button to access the image quality. This too, make sure it's set to the fine image quality, so it's the best quality JPEG the camera can produce. Press the function button to escape the function menu. You may decide that you don't want to use the auto ISO, but set an appropriate ISO yourself, which means you'll simply need to turn the ring on the lens right here. By turning this ring, I can customize the ISO, or I can just set it to automatic to let the camera decide what the best setting would be. By turning the control dial in the back, I would be setting the exposure compensation. This dial is very easy to move, so be careful you don't accidentally bump it and brighten up your image. You can use this ring function button right here to change the function the front lens ring controls. By default, it's set to the standard control. You can change it to any one of these other settings. However, I highly recommend sticking to the standard control because anything you change will also affect the control dial back here. And because this control dial moves so easily, I highly recommend keeping it on the default setting so that way it controls the exposure compensation. The reason you want the control dial to set the exposure compensation is because if it accidentally moves, you can immediately see the effect on the screen in the back. If the control dial is set to adjust the ISO, for example, then you would not see the effect and your picture may come out much too grainy. For this demonstration, I'm going to assume we're taking a picture of a person outdoors. So I have my white balance set to daylight. I need to turn my flash on in order to eliminate some of the shadows in the subject's face. Press the right navigation button or the flash icon right there, and use the control dial to move to flash on. Either press set or give it a second to go away. I'll set the ISO now to automatic just by turning the ring in the front until you see automatic in the back. And I'll make sure that my exposure compensation is properly set. Now my flash is set, my white balance is set. I have my focusing square right in the center, so I'm ready to take my picture. It's very important to fill the frame with your subject. So I'll zoom in a little bit. I'll press the shutter button halfway when the square is on the subject. I like to focus on the subject's eyes, so I'll place my focusing square on the subject's eyes, press the shutter button halfway, give the camera a chance to lock focus. Now I want to recompose the image so the subject is set up the way I want him in the frame. Now when I'm ready to take my picture, I'll just go ahead and press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the shot. Now if that flash was a little bit too powerful, I can actually turn it down a bit. It really depends on the distance of the subject from the camera. Go ahead and press the function button right here in the center and move the highlighted field to the flash exposure compensation right there. Now I can use my control dial to increase or decrease the power of the flash. I want to decrease it in this case, then press set to escape. And now I'll do the same thing again. Focus on my subject, press the shutter button halfway, recompose the image, then press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the shot. Now you can see the flash is less powerful and I was able to just fill in the shadows as opposed to actually illuminating the subject.